Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited for today's video. I'm going to be showing you how to make a swimsuit cover up from scratch in a matter of minutes. This is super easy to do, so I promise you, even if you're a beginner, this is a project you can handle. So without any further ado, let me walk you right through it. So to start off, my fabric was 26.5 inches wide. Next, I measured how long I wanted my sleeve to be. Since my width was already 26.5, my sleeve length came to about 15 inches, but my width was 26.5, so each sleeve of mine ended up being half of that. So all I'm doing is I'm folding the fabric in half, and as you can see, we have a very long bit of fabric. So my entire fabric length was 3.5 meters long. I did cut off about 20 inches just to make it less long because this thing was long on me. I am 5'3", and yeah, it was dragging all over the place, so I really had to shorten it. And now all I'm doing is, after I folded it in half, I'm just splitting my fabric into 2 equal bits. After everything was nice and chopped up, I ended up with 2 rectangular bits that were each 13.25 inches wide and 3.5 meters long. So essentially, this is the base of your cover up. Literally, this is all the fabric you need for this DIY, except from the tie, which we will make later. So as you can see, all I'm doing is I'm draping the rectangular bits over my shoulders and making sure they lay exactly as I want them to lay. I wanted this to be cute, so I took my time and I made sure it was draping the way I wanted it to drape. And after that, all I did was I pinned down the sides just a bit. I wanted to have a slit, and this slit was really long, so I just pinned up a bit of the fabric under my sleeve, about 5 inches, and this was all I was going to sew, and everything else would be left open. So obviously that's a preference. If you want to have no slit, just sew up the entire side and you're good to go. But all I did was I sewed that 5 inches on both sides, and literally that's all the sewing I did for the sides. So I'm just pinning down the fabric in place just to make sure it's easier to sew. And as you can see, that closes up the sides a bit. And I was left with this humongous slit that I loved. So yeah, I was happy about this. So moving on to my sewing machine, I'm just going to sew a straight stitch straight down just to close up the side a bit. And I reshuffled the pins and made sure to pin them in place properly rather than on my body. And that's why the pins look a bit different. Don't judge me, okay? Pinning on your body is really hard. I need a mannequin or something. Now moving on to the back, I wanted to have a V kind of dip at the back. So as you can see, I am struggling and I'm trying to pin the fabric together. This is going to be the start of my sewing. So you're going to close up the entire back side. You don't want to have a slit at the back unless that's your preference. Definitely do so. But I sewed up the entire length of the back. From the point where I put the pin all the way down, I just sewed it shut. And I started from the bottom, that way my fabric would be even at the bottom, and that's why you're seeing there's no V shape. But I made sure to end my stitching at the point where the V was supposed to dip to. Make sure to always backstitch when you start and end your sewing, that way it doesn't come unraveling on you. And as you can see, that's what the straight stitch looks like on this bit of fabric, and that closes up your back and you're good to go. Now to make a piece of string that will go around the waist, just to bring everything together and tie it together and also cinch in the waist a bit, I am cutting off a 2-inch wide strip all the way throughout the entire length of my fabric. So I had a pretty long strip that was 3.5 meters long. That was the length of my fabric, and I just pinned my 2-inch in place because this was difficult to eyeball. I just pinned in place the 2 inches and went cutting up the entire length of my fabric. I repeated this throughout the entire length, and this did take some time, but after about 10 minutes I was able to have my strip of fabric. And yeah, I wanted this to be super even. I did not want it looking funny, so I definitely decided to take my time with this, but that is a matter of what you want. If you want a wider strip of fabric, you do that. If you want it thinner, it's all a matter of what you want. It's a DIY, baby boo, so do whatever the hell you want to do. After after that was done, after about 5 hours, I had my really long strip of fabric, and as you can see, she's quite even, which is something I really wanted. And yeah, that thing was long. And now moving on to the sewing machine, all I did was I folded the strip in half, and then I folded it again in half. That way I had 2 bits of fabric on each end, and I just made sure to align everything. That way everything would be nice and even. And after that was done, I found the midpoint, which is obviously where I'd folded, and I pinned that in place just to make sure I could find it when sewing it. So I decided to sew the strap to the back, and I attached it right below the V. This is because this way I can wear my swimsuit open without having to tie it, and I don't have to worry about losing the strap. So this is definitely optional. You can just not sew it on, but I decided to sew it on the back just to make my life a bit easier. As you can see, she is attached. She's not going anywhere, and once that was done, that is literally all you need to do. As you can see, the side slit was coming through, and I love how this turned out. My fabric was a bit stiff though, so I think I'm going to try this with better fabric, but I love how it turned out, and it definitely goes a long way in making you feel like you're not super naked, even if your bikini is a bit risque, you know, the one you wear for bae. So I definitely love how this turned out, and I hope you do too. Let me know if you'll be trying this. I would love to know. That's what the back looks like with a V. I love it. I love how this turned out. Having said that, I hope to catch your beautiful face in my next video. Until then, stay slaying, and I hope you now have a beautiful swimsuit cover to add to your collection. See you guys next time. Bye.